how's it going? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review I want to look at the Halo 4 Series 1 Wave 2 Blue Spartan Soldier. It's one of my favorites actually so far. I really like this design. Blue team's my favorite, and it just looks really good. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm happy to share it with you. So let's take a look at the height. He stands, of course he's not standing perfectly upright right now, but he stands just under 6 inches tall, so if you get his legs perfectly straight, he's pretty decent sized. And like I say, he looks great. Let's talk about the sculpt and paintwork before we go into anything else. If you look at the helmet, the level of detail in the sculpt is pretty phenomenal. It's pretty much standard for McFarlane's Halo figures. They're all sculpted wonderfully. They're based on they're based directly on the in-game models, and of course they have to add articulation and stuff, but everything else should be just about exact. Maybe due to the articulation, some proportions are skewed just a little bit, but overall it's still a fantastic looking figure. Sculpt is great, and the paint work matches. There's nice dry brushing, nice metal wear effects going on just about everywhere, and everything looks really nice. They did a good job painting the visor. They've had trouble with small visors in the past, and this one's just about perfect. So really there's nothing to complain about with the paint application or the sculpt on this guy. We'll talk about articulation in a second. First I want to talk about the accessory. He's got the new DMR, it looks like, and of course he has a weapons peg that plugs into his back. I'll just leave that in there for now, and that's why there's a hole there. But if you look at the DMR itself, the detail is amazing. The sculpt is spot on. Paintwork is solid. There's nice different shades of silver and black and charcoal. You've got the little logo on the back there, the yellow striping on the front. It's just an overall fantastic looking accessory, and he holds it very well because, as you can tell, there's no trigger guard this time, so the lack of a trigger finger is not a problem. So very nicely done on that. The articulation for this guy is a double ball jointed head, or is it? Let's check. I can't take it off. I'm pretty sure it's a double ball jointed head. They may have changed it up for Halo 4, to be completely honest. It's sculpted a little differently, so it's hard to say, but regardless of what's inside, you can see that you get a full range of motion. So even if it is a single ball joint, it's basically effectively a double ball joint in terms of range of motion. So it doesn't really matter if I know what it is. I know how it works, and there you go. So the shoulder is a ratcheted ball joint, so it ratchets and then it rotates all the way around. So pretty much full range of motion for the shoulder. They did drop the shoulder armor down just a little bit to give them a little better range of motion, and that's okay with me. The elbow is a ratcheted ball joint that rotates at the bicep and the forearm. So you've got the ratchet there, and then it'll rotate this way, and it'll also rotate this way. So good range of motion, plenty of posability. I do wish he had a little better range of motion. Instead of just 90 degrees, it would have been nicer to get him to go a little bit past that, but it's okay. The wrist is the same type of joint as the elbow. It's kind of hard to get in there and see it, but it's ratcheted, and it rotates at the wrist and at the forearm. So really no problem with the range of motion there. And a nice detail I want to point out, look at the sculpt work on the fingers. These are tiny, and the sculpt and paint work is really just about perfect. You really can't ask for much more than that in a $12 figure. The articulation for the torso, I believe, is another double ball joint. Again, it might be a single. I haven't taken any of these guys apart, but either way the range of motion is pretty much all you want. Maybe a little bit more of a crunch would have been nice, but I don't think you're going to be seeing that too much in the game, so that's okay. And the twist is fine, and it looks good pretty much no matter how you pose it, so that's a nice touch. The hip articulation is lacking to a degree. It's just a single old school style ball joint. Maybe it has a little bit of an extra play in the ball peg, but it doesn't really matter because of how it's sculpted. You're not going to get a whole lot of range of motion out of the hips. Side to side, that's it. Forward and back is limited to just how you can rotate it around there. Now, even though it's limited in that, you can bring the leg up higher like that and rotate it at the knee to get him into some more poses. And it doesn't look horrible to have the thigh rotated, but it definitely could have been better. So the hip articulation is not the best. The knee articulation is like the wrists, except it's missing one rotation. It rotates at the thigh, but not at the shin. So you have that there and the hinge there, and that's it for the knee. The ankle is the same as the wrist and the elbow. It's got the ratcheted ball joint, and it rotates at the ankle and at the shin. So plenty of range of motion there. These toe joints, foot joints, whatever you want to call them, are basically just an old school ball joint. It gives it forward and back, and then you can rotate it and pose them just about however you want to. Now, he does have some upgrades from the previous Spartans that we've gotten in the Halo 4 line. He's got new knee pads and new feet, so the new armor altogether other than that, and new thighs, and it's just overall a really nice looking figure. The blue with the silver dry brushing on it looks great, and the articulation and paintwork is spot on. The accessory is good. Really, I have nothing to complain about with this figure other than the hip articulation, but that's easily worked around. I guess if I wanted to be picky, I'd say that I wish his elbows had a little better range of motion, but still, it's pretty effective. So I 100% recommend this figure. It's great, and I really can't talk enough about how good it is. So I'm just going to stop before I ramble on and on and on. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for some more videos, and in the meantime, keep collecting.